wants every year to end in an even number. And you know, that's something I think is just feminine, that she wants things to be, that she feels uncomfortable when either she's 59, not 60, or 58, or the year's 21, not 22, or whatever. Well, Charles, you might be coming up to see me tomorrow or this week. It's gonna
On the 6th, which I believe is Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be about 13 below that day, I hope.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's
It's going to be 30 tomorrow, but yeah, I don't know. Whatever. You know, we've got it.
Over here it was 13 above this morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be cold. But
yeah, I'm
sorry.
Right. It's not good, but we love, I hate winter. Hey, Gary, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Oh, great. Everybody loved your meditations. I just said that Gary's meditation, to me, at least it feels to me like that we're going into the forest, to.
Well, what I like to do is, I go back and forth between the ones that are popular and then the ones that next time you only have 2 or 3 people show up,
Yeah, well, you never can. I mean, I could listen to those cello. I mean, you could just put me in there and I would never need to wake up.
Oh my gosh, the cello is just amazing.
Yeah, just, I don't know if anybody has a dream, but my wife had a dream that she wanted us to discuss. I don't know if you want to discuss it, but
sure.
Yeah, okay, well, let me put it in here. It's a pretty interesting dream. I mean, that's why she wanted to discuss it, is because it was so puzzling to her.
Yeah, I throw Adelaide dreams in there, so it's about time we had an Amy dream. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you're going to see some of the character of her dreams. This is not a usual one, though. Let me see. I gotta find out where I ended. It's too long for one text chat. Just a second. Gotta find out. Okay, and there was one man and the rest were women. Okay, there we go. One man and the rest were women. There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, now like this. This is kind of a little similar to a dream that she had that she drew a picture of, and I can show it to you when we get to it. But I just gotta see if I get this. This one I kind of broke up into paragraphs. All right, yeah, there we go. All right. Well, let me read it. I'll just read it here. Okay, she's in the house of some people she does not know very well. We're preparing for a camping trip and doing repairs and projects around their house. Probably getting ready to go. I don't know what my relationship to them was, but I did not know them well. Now, I noticed a small mouse, very ordinary, that was behind a door and commented. Then the mouse did something really strange. It jumped or fell down a long, narrow stairway and out onto the street below. It was injured. I fetched it back up and pinned the injured mouse leg with an earring. Accidents kept happening like that. There were more mice, ordinary at first, and then more exotic looking. Remember, the first one was just an ordinary one. There were also some other animals that came throughout the house into the home of these people. I remember getting along very well with everyone and laughing a lot at the antics of these little creatures who would do impossible things, death-defying things, but still returned to the main living space. There was one man, and the rest were mostly women of varying ages. I got along very well with all of them, and we had so much laughter. I was helping them prepare, but not planning to go anywhere with them. At one point, we were driving down the street, and again, these strange animals were lining the streets and would jump up to the window on my side of the car to communicate something. I kept looking at these people with me as if to say, what the heck is going on around here? What is it with all these strange, funny animals? But they weren't alarmed or amused in the same way I was. In fact, one otherwise warm and friendly woman kept saying in a funny way, after one of the animals had done a death-defying thing, "Oh, it's you again. I wish we just got rid of all of you." But then I looked behind that one door, and there would be the most magnificent little mouse creature looking like a tiny striped seashell. And I would be amazed all over again. Okay, well, I kind of did just a little bit of this on it, preparation. But you're in the house of the people you don't know, okay? These are the ones that are unfamiliar to ego. So it's the, don't know them very well, but it's the unconscious, the house of the people I don't know. The house that ego is unfamiliar with is the unconscious. What it's not conscious of, is the ones that it doesn't know very well. Now, these people were preparing to go into the forest, into camping. So they're preparing to go into introversion, and before they did, they needed to make some corrections to the attitude of the house. And before they could go into introversion, certain things had to be done in the house. So that was sort of the preparation to go into this introverted forest attitude. And their relationship to the ego was, we didn't know them. We didn't know them very well. We're unrelated to them and know of them only vaguely. Well, this sort of describes the unconscious. I mean, that we maybe we're somewhat familiar with the dreams, but everything that comes from there is very unfamiliar. Now, we notice this ordinary mouse. So it's a bit of instinct, and it's hiding in this place that we don't know very well. This unconscious spaces. This is all about instinct. Now, this instinctive aspect, either deliberately or by accident, fell down a long, narrow stairway, fell it down onto the street below, and was injured. Now, this is something that has come up in Amy's dreams before. I'll just show you a picture she drew. If I can find it real quick. Let's see here. This is it's funny, the time that she had this, I had a dream that was very similar to this one. Let's see, oh, here it is here. Okay. Well, anyway, she kept hearing rumors that there was her brother was drinking and dying in the street. Okay, see, he's up here, right there, drinking and dying in the street. But she just ignores everyone, but people keep telling her and telling her, and so she finally says, "Well, I better go check," and she goes to check, and yes, she does indeed see the person lying in the. Hey, Azim. This is when my wife's dream, where she wanted us to, she says, see if the group will work on this one. Well, anyway, so she sees this animus figure, dying in the street, but she can't get to it. Okay. So now I'm going to put this in the chat. Dawn is coming in too. So let me just put it in the chat again. Let's see real quick here. Okay. This has got 2 parts. Okay. And then we got this part. Okay. All right. Well, basically, let me just go over it really quickly again. Well, I'm going to go through it anyway. It starts out, she's in the house of people she doesn't know. So, it's this, a place that is unfamiliar to ego. So the unconscious. And these people are preparing to go camping. So they're preparing to go into the forest, into introversion. But before they do, they need to make some repairs on the house. So there's corrections that need to be done to the house before they can go in it. Some changes. There are things that need to be done here before they can properly go into the forest. Now, the relationship of these people to the unconscious is we don't know them very well. Well, we don't know the dream people very well either, and their house is unfamiliar to us. Then we notice an ordinary mouse hidden behind the door. And so it's this instinctive aspect, but, not huge, but what later comes up is many, many animals. The instinctive aspect now either deliberately or by accident falls down a long, narrow stairway onto the street below and was injured. So this instinctive aspect, very small, falls in downward, so into the body, but out of the protective area of the house. And now it's exposed to all the dangers outside and it's injured. So that was what I was showing here in this other dream. Here is Amy hears that this man is dying in the streets, and she just one person after another tells her, and she just doesn't even pay any attention. And then finally she says, well, I better go look. And she finds, yes, they are dying in the street, but she can't get to them, can't help them, but they are dying. So this is sort of like our soul, is in need of our attention. It's losing energy. And everybody keeps telling us this in the unconscious, but we don't do anything. So now, but this case, it's the instinctive. Now it's very, it's exposed, injured, and in danger after falling down from a higher level. The narrow opening, just the narrow stairway is very, seems symbolic, but the only thing I can think of, it's some type of a birth canal or something, but that's just a leap. Now the ego goes down the long, narrow stairway. The ego goes through it and into the street to rescue this injured, instinctive aspect. And it heals it with an earring, with something related to hearing. So it seems that the way it is healed is not through, Amy is her name, my wife, is heals it not through sight, but through hearing. So I don't know whether that has a functional, something to do with the functions. Now, these accidents or these unexpected occurrences, unexpected and surprising, keep happening over and over again. And the mice become more and more unusual, more and more exotic, more and more special mice. So there's an aspect that they just keep getting more fantastic, more fascinating as we encounter them more and more. So the more we encounter the unconscious instinctive aspects, they seem like they're differentiated and they're becoming more details, something like that, And so then So now in the house, all throughout the house, not now just mice, but all kinds of animals are appearing there. These instinctive aspects. So they're just this aspect of the more we see, the more they differentiate. And then the people in the house, the ones that are ready to go on the camping trip, have to do some repairs. We have an affinity for them, and they're fond of us. We're fond of them. We mutually enjoy and are delighted by the amazing things that are going on in the instinctive world. Fascinating, surprising, impossible, death-defying acts, and yet the center of the house seems to be the focus. Now, there is one male figure, and very interesting, there's many feminine energy here of young and old. Now my wife, she lost her entire family, her sister died when she was 21, and her mother died young, and it ended up there was no one left but she and her father. And so she felt she had to repopulate the world, and she had 4 kids, so but this aspect of that there's these feminine figures, young and old. Now we are all delighted and full of mirth at these antics of the instinctive. Now, the dream ego is helping them in their preparation to go camping or into the forest. But we weren't planning on going there ourselves, but we know we're helping the unconscious world to introvert or to go into the forest, to go away from the house, camping. I would say camping to me means you're putting a tent up out in the wilderness or something, Now we drive down the street. Now I'm not sure what this means, where this came up, but anyway, they're driving down the street, and everywhere you look, lining the streets, are the fascinating instinctive elements lining the streets. They all come to our side of the car, and they seem to be trying to communicate with us. Now, this aspect just seems more and more differentiating the instinctive aspect. It starts out with the little mouse, and then it builds, Now, we looked for some explanation of this fascinating instinctive, but no one else found it amusing or unusual in the way that we did. So this seemed more expected to them. I remember my father and I used to go birding with him. He's a very accomplished birder. And we would go down to Texas, and we would see a bird there that was called the elegant trogon, and it's like about this big, and looks like a parrot, but also like a kind of like a dove, it's funny colors. And when we get there, we get out of the car. We thought we were going to have to go find it. And it's there right outside the car. And then everywhere we go, it's following us. And, even I don't care how amazing that bird is. If you start seeing it enough, you start calling it a junk bird, It's a bird that, it's too common. I want to see something different, But anyway, this one woman, very warm and friendly, says of these impossible behaviors of these instincts and these increasingly exotic, they say, "Oh, you again? I'm getting tired of you. I wish you'd go away," But then the dream ego still looks and goes and looks back behind the door, where before it was the ordinary mouse, and now it sees one that looks like a striped tiny seashell. So, something very related to, it's sort of an identification, both with the world of opposites, the stripes are, opposite colors over and over again in a repeated fashion. And it is also related to the deep unconscious, the seashell. So this instinctive aspect looks like a creature of the deep unconscious. Okay, well, anyway, so she wanted the group to work on it. So let's hear what everybody has to say. Roy, what do you think?
And what I get from where I'm coming from in my strange world is these animals seem to appear in public, out of the house or out of the car, and the other people really don't see how, aren't amazed and see how humorous and incredible the antics in these animals are. And this to me reflects how Amy sees the world. She sees the animals are the numinous thing. She can see this is numinous for her, but it's not numinous for the other people. It's the way that she sees life. You know, it's how she interacts with life. It's very numinous and amazing. And she's just really intrigued with it, which most people aren't. But she's very alive there, and I think it comes out in the dream.
Yeah, she one thing that she's is sort of her numinous thing is just porn animals. Doesn't matter what it is, a colt, a baby rabbit, a puppy, a kitten, a baby. You know, she's the type that you could give her a preemie baby and she would know just what to do. I mean, this is sort of her, the fascinating aspect in her is the growing aspect and nurturing and caring. Gary, why don't you go? I got barking dogs.
Yeah, well, I think there's, you know, a couple other things I'd add, although I have to agree with everything so far, is that, you know, this is the growing thing, you know, this is the increased awareness. And the interesting thing too is that if you think of this town as being the deep unconscious, the roads, the streets, those are our inroads into it. Those are the place where the first, you know, glimmerings of awareness will happen. So that, you know, that we become aware of things as they fall into the street. And that's where we now relate to it, where we patch it up, you know. So this is the growing consciousness of the instincts and the, you know, the growing relatedness. And of course, you know, when, you know, as you individuate, you know, the changes that you undergo don't mean that you become more agreeable, and, you know, but people like you more, you know, you become more yourself, and people, you know, likely won't, you know, appreciate those changes because they want you in a fixed place. So that, you know, the criticism she's receiving, I think, are related to the growth that, you know, she's undergoing that they probably don't approve of, you know, because she's not the old Amy.
Yeah, the one thing is I was trying to, I mean, I sort of had a little bit of a revelation of who the women are. They don't seem to be shadows, but they are someone, women of varying ages, old and young. So here's the man and the women of the varying ages. And these women don't seem impressed by the instinctive aspect. So that's a great clue, but I'm not sure what it means. What do you think, Azine?
Well, houses are usually states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And animals, most of the time, they're instincts, as you said, or habits. And this one is a mouse. So it might be a minor thing, but mouse is usually related to something that steals, like steals our energy or something like that. And then the dream begins with her being happy with people, they're laughing and they're connecting. But this instinct, this mouse, is something exotic or something that differentiates her. And Roy said it very interestingly that that's her, that's the way she sees the world, and she's living in this numinous state. I don't know, but she may ask herself, what is this habit or characteristic or hobby of her that is exotic? It might be something that makes her special and people relate to her through that. But I don't really know what is the dying figure is. Maybe, I don't know if it's a warning that this habit is killing some parts of her, or it's a good thing that she's approaching these dead parts and giving life to them or recognize them. I'm not sure. But the whole dream is like, I think it's about multiplication. There are many houses, like many people. And then this instinct figure, this animal that manifests in different, very different ways. So it's really, and animals is related to multiplication. But I really don't get the message of this dream or the essence of it. I think she needs to, it would be great if she was here to talk to us, but that's as far as I can talk about.
That's very good. One of the things I think you said, now the animals are this multiplication of what? Did you think?
Instincts.
Of instincts, okay.
Or habits, or
yes.
aspects. And the mouse turns into something related to see and unconscious. So I don't know. That's all I can think of.
Well, that's a good start. Okay, let's see. I gotta get my screen up. Kat, what do you think?
Everybody at the moment has brought so many wonderful things to the table. I don't know if my meager offerings can top any of that, but there is lots of movement. And the thing is, with a mouse, I mean, you look at the mouse perspective, it's small, it's tiny, but it's part of a much bigger world. You know, seeing the world from a mouse's point of view would be so much larger. Do you see what I mean? And there was something about the injured leg, but pinning it with an earring. So I'm wondering again if that is listening to the body, probably like to do with movement. Where am I injured? Perhaps in feeling that there's movement going on in my life or career or whatever. But it's the fact that when she looked behind the door and there would be the most magnificent little mouse creature. And again, Mouse's point of view sees a lot of details, and sometimes you can miss the bigger picture. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there was that. And then I just briefly got that the animals coming up in the street. Again, it's streets like activity and movement, getting to one place for another. But again, the side of the animals coming up to the side of the car, which I presume seeing more out the window. So there is that thing of looking in and looking out aspect with these animals, these instincts as such. And seashells, well, you know, I remember a time where, you know, I used to collect seashells and listen to the sea. So again, it's perhaps listening to the subconscious type of thing, but that's it for me. So sorry about that.
Yeah, there's some very mysterious aspects in that. The relationship with the women of the varying ages, the meaning of the of healing the injured mouse with something that goes on your ear. Now that's always what is the most surprising aspect of the dream. I think the most surprising aspect of the dream is the fact that everywhere she goes is just a never ending play of these instinctive aspects. I mean, the whole dream seems to be just no matter where she goes, the instinctive aspect is in great, is very active, very energetic, you know, and is doing impossible things, magical things, you know, no matter where she goes. And it's just the whole dream is just one after another. And so now it's set against the backdrop of that the house that we don't know, the people who we're not well acquainted with, and the fact that they are about to leave and go into the forest, you know, and so it's got the two aspects. For the people that we don't know are going to go into the forest, and the place where they live, where the people who are going into the forest live, is like Dr. Doolittle's house, you know. I mean, and you know, Dr. Doolittle is not that probably amazed by all these animals all over the place, but he is you know, we would just be, but the whole dream seems to have this aspect of the it just is about animals and the amazing things they do. What do you think, Charles? Am I in? Did I miss anybody? Oh no. Okay.
I feel like the stream kind of shows that Amy is someone that appreciates what is not often appreciated, and that she can see good things in the parts of life that are commonly overlooked. I just, you know, like, no one that I know thinks of mice as being a you know, a great animal. Usually, you know, magical animals are usually like lions or eagles or serpents or
I was thinking
you
of the
know,
hamsters here too. Little
yeah,
hamsters.
yeah, of course I was thinking about that too. But this is an animal that is, it's an unlikely animal to be amazed by. And I don't know, it's just, you know, she can see the greatness in whatever it is the mouse represents that, you know, others cannot. And I, you know, I don't really know, I don't have any ideas what exactly the mouse is going to represent or what the group of people represent, because but I would like to know, because, you know, with the people, they don't, though she gets along with them very well, they're unable to see the greatness and the magic of these mice. But that doesn't stop her from, you know, being very friendly with them and really enjoying their company. But yeah, I don't know, it's a really cool dream. And I don't know, I just think that you know, what I get from it is that Amy can see the greatness in things that are often overlooked and being portrayed as totally unnoteworthy, but she can see the magic in those things.
Here's this is from the dream seminars. It's called Some Suggestions About the Dream Mouse. You know, the discussion of the last seminar created a certain amount of ill feeling in the world of mice. In order to clear it up, the mice have taken the liberty to send in the following proposals. This was an anonymous submission to this dream seminar. You know, nobody knew who wrote it. And it says, so the mice have taken the liberty to send in the following proposals. This certain amount of ill feeling in the world of mice. Dr. Young said that when an animal appears in a dream, we must take it exactly as it is in reality and try to find its meaning with the help of its own characteristics. So we have stated that the mouse is small, shy, lives in holes, comes out at night mostly, is greedy for lard, and can disturb orderly households. What was not pointed out, besides these characteristics, is the extraordinary fertility of the mouse. That's a very interesting thing as regards with Amy, which is equaled perhaps only by the guinea pig. Every child who owns a couple of white mice knows this, knows that only massacres of the Herodian fashion will do anything against a growing crowd of continuously produced offspring. It might be useful not to overlook this extraordinary fertility of the mouse. Perhaps it will lead us somewhere. Let's say then that the mouse is an animal of darkness, of night, and of fertility. This shows plainly its connection with the moon life, with all the symbolism of the moon, which the seminar will remember from its former discussions. This is where the book by Esther Harding came from, is from this seminar too. But within this moonlit circle, the mouse has its own special place, and what that may be, we can find out best by considering the woman's behavior at the sight of a mouse. There's an old saying that a girl who is not afraid of mice has lost her virginity. And it is certain too that women at the sight of a mouse show their fright in a very peculiar way, as if their virginity was attacked. This is very curious, as a mouse is surely no danger for the woman's chastity. Now we must take our courage into both hands and say this: when in a room there is a man and a woman and a mouse, when the woman screams and the man thinks it doesn't matter, it is, in spite of all appearances, very probable that it is the man who is frightened and the woman is not. Every man present may now come down on us and declare triumphantly that this would be another proof of the falsehood and hypocrisy of women, just crocodile tears in her deceitful eyes. And at that, one may have to say, this is being written by a woman, by the way. At that, one would have to say yes, but after the men had joined their triumph, one might go on and say that we had better not stop at that. When from Eve's time on through the ages, women at the sight of a mouse have always behaved in such a queer, deceitful way. This I don't think Amy's afraid of mice. This way itself might be, mean something. This sham perhaps has a good reason. Perhaps it is no sham after all, but a sort of symbolic behavior, as symbolical as the mouse itself. The mouse, we believe, is a symbol of a woman's wish for fertility or fecundity. This wish in all women is deeply rooted, because it is only by giving birth to children. Now, this is Amy's, reason for being, really. Giving birth to children, that women fulfills her natural task and lives according to her destiny. And one may not restrict this statement to the material and physical world of the woman's body and sex only, is just as true for the moon mind of women, which all the time longs for the seed of the sons of light in order to bring forth the spiritual children of the moon in dark, but ever fervent creativeness. So look, it's not just the fertile to bring forth physical babies, but to bring forth the moon child. So the wish for the physical and spiritual conception is even so closely connected in women that they often mix the two up and must leave it to the discrimination of men to decide which they really want. It can happen that a woman gives birth to one child after another because she does not know that it is her moon mind that suffers from neglect, whilst on the other hand, many a wife troubles her husband with her imperious wishes for spiritual relatedness, when in reality, she ought to have more babies. But however this may be, it seems very probable that the mouse is the symbol of the yin, or feminine principle, and its readiness to conceive. Just as in the material world is only the womb that creates in women, so in the spiritual world is not intellectual or rational life, which contains women's creative power. On the rational side, women is the guardian, the mother, but it is the warm brown earth of the rational eros that must receive the spiritual seed of man. It is the warm brown earth of eros that must receive the spiritual seed of man. Now, eros in its nature being so irrational, it lacks language completely. It can't speak English, French, or German. And as that, it does not know the logical world. Eros can never say clearly what it wants or why it wants just this. Therefore, when Eros is at work in woman, all she can do is to act in symbolical ways in order to track the man's attention. Now, this was written in the 30s, so, you know, I'm sure that it always causes a little bit of argument. But this is the woman who wrote this is named Linda Fears David, and she's a very accomplished youngin. What Eros wants is to make man. Now, listen, this is the punchline. What Eros wants is to make man ask a question. Questions only Eros can answer. The answer will always be a child, either a physical child or a moon child. Only man does not know all this. Whenever Eros is concerned, man who has not developed within himself at all the female side is as ignorant as Parsifal. He really does not know. He is not even aware that at bottom he is frightened, as Parsifal before the Holy Grail. So man stands before women's Eros and not asking the question. And just not asking the question of Eros that creates the moon child. And just as Parsifal was accepted to the Holy Grail only when he asked the question, so it is only at man's question that women's Eros can be revealed. I don't know if it isn't too much longer. I didn't want it. It seems like it's getting a lot. The difference is that the Grail, being holy, remained silent and waited for the question, while short-lived earthbound women cannot wait as patiently as the Holy Grail. So great is her longing to conceive the moon child that she uses the most astonishing means to make the man ask the question. In the case of the mouse, as if the women would adopt all outward signs of man's inward fear in order to awake his chivalry and courage in order to make him ask the question. And she says, do you see the mouse? Do you understand it? Please ask now, ask a question. It seems to us that the mouse is an excellent symbol for the longings of Eros. As the mouse lives almost unseen, so women's Eros, even if hidden in the deepest mousehole, is always present. Like the mouse, it prefers the friendly shine of the moon to broad daylight and feels best in the quietest room of the house. And like the mouse, it promises infinite amount of children. About these offspring, the French law says, don't ask the father. That was one of Napoleon. When Napoleon became the emperor of France, he came up with some new laws. And when there was a child, you weren't and of unknown parentage, you were not allowed to inquire who the father was. Only the children of Eros can resemble their fathers so absolutely that is almost a joke. Perhaps one ought also to know why man at bottom is so afraid of the mouse and afraid of Eros. In a way, man is very right here. Is fear is pious fear. Logos must be afraid of Eros because Eros, in Eros, he meets his opposite. And when the opposites don't meet us exactly in the right way, great harm is done. So man's fear works like an inward warning not to misuse women's wish for the answer. We must not forget to state that for our symbolic mouse, as for all mice, there exists a cat. And this cat has destroyed many mice during the ages. So when the mice grow too noisy and fresh, it's right that the cat should eat them, but no cat to be allowed to eat more mice than is good for its stomach. And yet when one can see many a cat that swallows mice till it gets indigestion, or what's worse, grows so fat with mouse food that it becomes clumsy and bad-humored, the cat which eats the dream mice is called anima. Therefore, it is a very nice and a good sign indeed that in our dream, it is the dreamer's wife who chases the mouse. Anyway, sorry that lasted so long. Go ahead, Zine. Oh, you got to unmute there.
So I was thinking about the death figure.
Yeah.
And you said at the beginning of this session that Amy lost her whole family.
Yes.
And
Her
she-
brother
her-
and her mother and her sister and her beloved uncle and her grandmother all died just very close to each other.
Yeah.
Then it was
and
just her and her father left.
Yeah, and she has like 4 kids, right?
Yes.
So I was thinking that psychologically we may do something to compensate,
Mhm.
right? Like we try to heal a wound or something, and she was doing that with the children. But there are levels of interacting or addressing or healing the wound. Like we may do something unconsciously and later we realize, oh, that's why I have so many kids, because I'm dealing with this wound, you know. But I think at this state, this dream is telling her that her ability, the animus is here multiplying, like, and his animus is in liver, gives life, right? So I think the mouse and the concept of fertility and her approach to life is consciously, she's now able to reach out to the wound and see that wound from a closer distance, right? She literally goes to that house, that part of her psyche that the wound and the death is there. And she opens, she goes and sees it. And now she knows, she knew that it was there, but she's now really, really facing it and seeing it. And the whole dream mind is supporting her with this multiplication of animals. And I don't know, but I have a feeling that she might be a person that, one of those people that when they go somewhere, they bring life, right? And just a liver, you know, and that's her reaction to the wound. But I think this dream is a milestone.
You know, it's just something that what you said at the beginning, the first time, that the animals sort of represented multiplication. The mouse represents this fertility. The way she is healing her wound in her is through fertility everywhere. Fertility.
Bringing life. Mm-hmm.
Yes, bringing life into the world. She loves puppies, kittens, any kind of babies. She felt that it was her responsibility to repopulate the world that had been decimated of people. You know, that was the way she could heal the wound of losing her whole family, you know. And you know, the one thing is, it's sort of is a clue, Charles, I think, to your hamster dreams, because I think the hamster, to some extent, represents a fertile aspect of bringing life into the world, or something which you seem to want to do very, very much, you know, to bring life in the world. I don't know, but I'm just saying that it is. I didn't mean to read that. I didn't know it was that long. Sorry, but it was pretty good. Is there any more comments about the dream? I think we've hit on it, don't you think? What do you think? Let me see. I can't remember who is next. Roy, what do you think? Yeah, Roy.
Would you talk a little bit more about the moon child? Who is the moon child?
Okay, the moon child is the real child that needs to come in to exist.
And who is that?
That is the child of the woman and the spiritual principle in her that they need to produce.
Would that be the self?
Yes, the logos or the animus or the self, and her and the woman need to bring not into. Linda Fears David said it a little later that some of her patients would get into a kind of a funk, and they'd say, "Oh well, I'll just have another kid." This is back in the 20s and 30s. They wouldn't do this today. I'll just have another child, then I won't have any problems at all for the next 4 or 5 years. So I don't have to worry about anything. But he says what she really needed to do was to bring into her life her moon child, you know, the one that, so I think that what this dream is saying, these fertility aspects that are in the house of the people that we do not know, okay, is that the fertile aspect needs to be in the unconscious, not in the outer world. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I don't know how you bridge that in when you have a woman like that, and her whole life experience is the mouse, fertility, and it's so ingrained, and she's so invested in it. I don't know how in the world you would build a bridge to this to the logos.
She's got both me and herself. All the time I've known her, and all the time that we've been trying to solve this mystery of this wound in her, of losing all these people. And then in the background, going on all the time, is this aspect of the of her love of just born things. Okay. Now she did have a dream a little while ago about that she was at a wedding and she was looking for a white purse. Now this would be the white womb. She's looking for the white womb and she can't find it anywhere. You know, I mean, so it's somewhat reminiscent of this dream. You know, Gary, do you have any thoughts about it after that, or after all this?
No, I thought it was really interesting that the mouse decided to speak, though, you know.
Yes. Everybody was trying to figure out who this mouse was, and kind of later they found out it was Linda Fears David, who wrote it. Well,
and I love the imagination of it, and just the creativity,
This is her sister.
Oh wow, this is the one that committed suicide, or
Well, the thing is, we don't.
Oh, the drug overdose.
Amy was going to go to a suicide help group with someone, and I asked her. I said, "How do you know that she committed suicide? You know, and did she leave a note?" And she said, "No." And then she got a little concerned about it, so she called her sister's boyfriend, and asked, and he said that they had looked up how many of these, some kind of a drug you'd have to take to, you know, do away with yourself. And it was 4. And when they looked on her bed, they found 4 capsules there. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was just very unusual. And you know, the thing was, I told this story that she had asked this boyfriend to marry her, and he says, "I can't marry you. I'm still going to school." But she was living at her parents' house after she graduated from college, and she was working in a flower shop making $4 an hour, and she just couldn't get out of that town, you know. And so her last chance was this guy, and he turned her down, you know. So
How old was
anyway,
she?
she was born in 54, and she died. So she was 22.
Oh, brutal, just brutal.
Yeah,
I mean, she
and
needed to give the whole thing some time, you know?
yeah, I know. She just couldn't. But anyway, the whole idea is this has haunted everybody for so many years. There's still people that, you know, one told me, I said, what was Heidi like? You know, and she says, well, it was kind of nice being around Heidi because when you went into a room with her, she just sucked up all the oxygen there. And it was like you didn't exist. She says she was just had this unbelievable charisma, you know. And anyway, but I think that I didn't go into this to that night thinking about the fertility aspect, you know. I mean, and I think what it is that's it. It's the fertility aspect, and her dreaming about white purses all the time, you know.
I
Go
think
ahead, Azim.
after this dream, she might enter a new state of creativity.
Yes.
It might be another level of fertility and giving life.
Another level, yeah, the fertility of the
Because she's integrating with the womb.
yeah, the unconscious is full of the fertility principles, which are mice. They're everywhere. When she goes, see, the thing is, she goes out on the street, they lie in the street. They all come up to the window and they're trying to communicate with her, you know, and they do impossible things. They keep getting more and more fascinating. And then at the end of the dream, she sees the mouse behind the door that is colored with opposites. You know, the unconscious, or the pleroma, is the union of opposites. So it's showing that this mouse, the fertility aspect in the unconscious, is the union of opposites, and it exists at the deepest levels. It resembles the seashell. Anyway, it's just, I think, Kat, did you have any final thoughts about this one?
Only just like, I mean, the accident part, accidents kept happening, like the injured mouse leg, and happened, it was pinned with an earring, but it's the next bit, accidents kept happening like that. So it's kind of like, what's all that about?
Yeah, any clues about why you would heal the fertility aspect with an ear, something from the ear? You know, I don't know, but it's just, it's not being, it's not with the eyes, you know, or anything else, but we're healing it with something that has to do with the sounds of, you know, whose eyes and ears are open to the song of the universe, you know, something like that. Whose ears are open. Go ahead, Gary.
To me, it's like, you know, it's like a whole number of synchronicities. And when you go inward, you know, it isn't so much sound, it's listening. So it's almost like the old Eskimo with one eye covered, you know, that's, and so the, you know, curing it with the ring, that's what strikes me.
You're healing the wound with listening, you know, with listening. What do you think of that, Izzy? Do you have any thoughts about that, or Roy or Charles?
I just wrote that the mouse's injury might be an emphasis on the wound.
Yes. Yeah, emphasis on the wound. So the mouse, the fertility aspect and the wound have been linked in the unconscious.
Integrated.
Yes, linked in the unconscious. Charles, did you have any comments about the ending comments about the dream?
Just what I think about the earring. I mean, it, you know, like there's the saying, you know, quiet as a mouse. But she's, you know, telling the mouse, like, you know, I'll listen to you. I see you. I notice you when no one else does, and I'll listen to you too. And you know, and saying like, you know, listen to your heart, listen to your gut, listen to your feelings. Like, yeah, she lends that part of the psyche her full attention. And I think maybe too much of the emphasis we've put on the mice. And I think really what I am more curious about now is what do the people represent? Because that's a part of her that does not like the mice. When clearly the mice to her are so special. I want to know what's this unconscious, unknown, because she doesn't know who they are. What is this unknown part of herself that seems to not care about the mice? Much more curious about that now.
They're amused, but they are not fascinated and amused like she is, because she sees it is her own healing. So they don't see it as their own healing because they don't need it. You know, this fertility aspect, that the fertility is linked with the wound, and it's in the unconscious, and it's everywhere in the unconscious. And she, beautiful, that it's as quiet as a mouse, yet we lend it our ear. We lend it, friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your ears. This idea that we're going to give it the gift of our listening to it. That's just beautiful. Well, anyway, I think we've got some good things for Amy to think about. I don't
One
know.
more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Roy. Yeah.
Yeah. I came across this artist about 2 days ago. Does this happen in the 70s?
Yeah, it was in 77.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever heard of Sandy Denny?
It sounds familiar.
Her famous song was "Who Knows Where the Time Goes."
Oh yes, that was.
She committed suicide, I think, in 78.
Yes.
I thought of Heidi when I came across this, and I was listening to this old song. I forgot all about her, but she had a very incredible life. Look her up and on Wikipedia.
I've heard that.
It reminds
song.
you of the times and how some of these artists thought.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of recordings of Heidi that she recorded songs. Every one of them says, "I don't have much time," and all of this. Every one of it. I mean, it's and they're Neil Young, Cat Stevens, Buffy St. Marie. Who's the guy that died in
Jim Morrison?
No, the one that wrote.
Everybody was dying around 78
yes,
to 81.
I'm just thinking he just died recently.
Recently.
He's the one that wrote. Judy. Somebody used to sing all the songs. He just died. I'm trying to think of all the songs he won. The one he sang was. Oh shoot! He wore a little fedora, and he was just a great songwriter. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find out. But anyway, yeah, I'll find it out. Charles, or anybody else got a dream, or Dawn, or let me see.
I had a kind of interesting dream the other night.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let me just.
Unless anyone has one that they
Well-
like really, really want to share.
Well, no, go ahead. I mean, you're always ready. Roy, you probably have one too, but why don't we start with yours, Charles? I don't know. Whatever. Go ahead.
So in the dream, it starts out, I am on my way to Minnesota, and I'm going north. I don't know if I'm actually going to Minnesota or if that's just a way the dream is communicating that I'm going north. I find myself traveling by car, and I had to go up, or I find myself at the top of this very, very tall spiral corkscrew road. It takes me really high up and allows me to cross a bridge over into what looks like it's into Canada, but it's very, very strange. It looks like I'm actually just crossing a giant map of the United States, and it's not actual real, like when I look down, it's, you know, I see a map, not actual grass or land. But at the top of this giant spiraling road, it seems like there's a really big traffic jam because everyone is going back down the spiral and not crossing the bridge going north. It seems that maybe the bridge had been closed for a time, but it looks totally clear to me, so I decide to go ahead and cross the bridge, going north into Minnesota. Next thing I know, I'm there, and I'm just inside of what looks like a very large library, and there's no one around other than a bunch of really old, pale white women that all have like they had curled their hair. They have like a perm or whatever, and like all of them, they all look almost identical, and they're just kind of wandering about the library doing their thing. And I'm like, what, this is Minnesota? Like this is what Minnesota is like? This is very strange. And I'm going through the library and noticing just all the books and things, and there's two boys there that I meet and become friends with. One of them is like a magical kind of rag doll. He's a doll, but he can talk and move and think and act on his own. We become good friends, and we are taking turns reading the same book, or we do this with a few books. He'll read it, then I'll read it, and he'll read it, and I'll read it. But there's only one sentence in each book that I can actually, or that he seems to be able to read. The rest of it's just gibberish. We go to that one sentence, and he'll say, or he'll ask me, did it say this? And I'm like, no, it says this now. The one sentence that we could read kept changing all the time. It was just kind of like a fun thing that we were doing. And the scene changes, and me and the two boys are somewhere nearby, I guess, that where there are these like machines. There's one in front of each of them, and part of the machine, or the main part of the machine, reminds me of like an old sewing wheel that you'd press the pedal on, and the big like wheel would turn. And it was turning really fast, and the ragdoll boy got caught in it, and it caught him up and chewed them up and just spit them out. And like the thread and the fabric were just cotton, just like shooting everywhere. This kind of happened in like a cinematic slow motion. And the scene changes again, and me and the other boy are at the Ragdoll boy's house, right in front of the front door, where we are meeting his father to tell him that the Ragdoll boy had died. And his father, honestly, it was funny when it happened, but his father was just like, leave me alone, I'm drunk. Just the way he said it, in retrospect, made me laugh, but he seemed to not really care or want to be bothered. And that was the end of the dream.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, let's go over this. It's going to be one I don't think we're going to be able to complete today, but okay. There's we're going north. So, you know, the Spider Woman tells the two boys who are going find their father, go any direction, but don't go north. And so of course they go north. But it's sort of this, you're going into the unknown. You know, if you go east and west, you're just, you know, you're going along the same latitude. And so you're just going around in circles. If you go south, you are traveling in the direction of the sun. You know, it gets hot as you go south, you know, at least until you get to past the equator, you know. But if you go north, you're going into the wilderness and you're going towards the pole, you know, towards the, I'm not sure the pole is the, where the world turns. It's the point on which the world turns. Now, you're
Can I say
traveling.
something?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
can I say
please.
something about going north?
Yes.
It says to dream of north represents a situation in your waking life that is increasing in safety, rationality, or positivity. A less dangerous mindset, things doing what they are supposed to do with fewer problems.
Like the
So
compass, like
yeah.
that always points north. What do you think about that, Azim? How do you interpret what you just said?
I think it's kind of going to a direction that is more harmonious or the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
sort of the magnetic.
Left is definitely going to unconscious, right?
Yes,
Going
right.
left, west. But north, I think it's doing things in harmony with your surroundings, more with templates, more logical. I don't know.
Well, it's a magnetic direction. I mean, it's the direction that the compass, no matter how you turn it around, it's always, the compass thing's always going to point north. So that's a very important point. So now we're traveling. That's it's the magnetic pole. Okay. Now we are going. We're traveling by car, and we are going up a spiral corkscrew bridge. Isn't that interesting? We're going up something that bridges some gap, but it's a spiral corkscrew, and it looks like it's going into Canada, but it doesn't. But I think he says we're crossing a map, so it seems like we're just going from. We're seeing that we're crossing a boundary, but it's not necessarily a geographical boundary. It's sort of a conceptual boundary of some type. But the bridge across it is a spiral or a corkscrew. So it's not a straight, the spiral growth is the way the psyche grows. You know, it grows, it doesn't grow linear. It grows it gets closer and closer to the center, you know, like this, you know. And now at the top of the giant, there seems to be a traffic jam, and all of the collective is coming back. It does not want to go there, but we see that the road to the north, where everybody's coming back from, because they can't go there. So it seems like he's going into the unconscious or something. I don't know. He decides to go north. There's no one going there but him. So then he gets there, and he's in a library, and so it's the place of knowledge, the place of learning, and all there are in Minnesota are pale white women. You know, they don't get out in the sun much, you know, and with all they have perms in their hair, which is sort of an old-fashioned hairdo, you know. So
they're all quite elderly too.
yes, it's sort of an old-fashioned hairdo. Women don't often get frizzy perms anymore, so we're saying, wow, this is we're wandering over. This is what Minnesota looks like. It's very strange. Elderly women in the place of learning. So it's sort of, are they old maids? I mean, librarians, you know, I mean, that's what I was thinking when he was telling it. They're just librarians. Now we meet two boys and become friends with them. And one is a magical ragdoll boy. Okay. Now, what was it? Didn't you, just as sort of a therapy doll, get a Cabbage Patch boy or something like that? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And we become good friends with it. And so, in other words, this boy that we wanted to take, that we were going to use, because we were away from our nephew, we really feel that we have to, and this is, I think it is similar to Amy's problem, that the way we heal. Now, Amy's problem was she lost all her family, but I think, you know, in Charles' case, it is that he really didn't have much of a family when he was younger. I mean, he wasn't nurtured the way he deserved to be nurtured, you know. And so his way of healing the fact that he didn't get nurtured in the way he deserved to be nurtured is to nurture some growing thing, whether symbolically or actually. I think he would love to do it actually, but until he does it, this is a way of active imagination. It's really is a way to do active imagination, to have this growing aspect of himself, which he's now going to nurture. Now, then we get a book. Now, there's only one sentence in the book. All the rest of it is gibberish, but the sentence keeps changing over and over again. So now it is some type of a message, and it's an ever-changing message, and every time we read it, and we tell the ragdoll boy what it says, he gets it, he reads it, and it changes for him. So this aspect of what the book is saying, the magical book, has the one statement that keeps changing, but it's different for the ragdoll boy than it is for us. Okay, so then the scene changes. The ragdoll boy is made by a seamstress, by a sewing machine, and what put him together rips him apart. You know, old fact. This is my grandmother had one of these. My mother had one too, until she was. I think I was a teenager. She had a pump sewing machine, which she had inherited, and this sewing machine that put him together takes him all apart. So it's like it's going in the opposite direction or something. But anyway, the scene changes. We see the sewing machine, which usually assembles. And now this is not a good sign. I don't know. I can't. Well, let's hear what you guys have to say. But this growing thing, which we shared this wonderful time with, became very good friends with, shared these wonderful changing sentences with in the ever-changing book, is just annihilated by the sewing machine. Okay, and then we go to the Ragdoll boys' parents' house, and we want to tell the parent that the boy died, and he just says, now this is where these last two scenes are really very powerful. Leave me alone, I'm drunk. And now this seemed a little bit amusing to us. We're going to tell somebody that their child died, and he just says, leave me alone, I'm drunk. Now, Charles, I don't know, your parents had some addiction problems, a little bit, didn't they, or not? A little bit, or maybe
Yeah, my mom.
your mother did. Okay, all right. Anyway, now let's be gentle here. Okay, Roy, what do you think?
Yeah,
It's powerful, but let's.
I like the contrast in this dream. I like what Azine said about going north. So he's got the direction right. And so the strange thing is he says it feels like he's going over a map. So that's sort of fantasy. He's not in the terrain, he's on the map. But the other people are going the other way. The traffic's going the other way because the bridge might be out or something. That's more like stark reality. But because Charles is a master of fantasy, he's able to cross the bridge. And so, he can really sail around in that realm. Then I like the library thing. It contrasts kind of with the real world. You think of libraries, pale old white ladies with perms. But Charles is able to find the fantasy there, the rag doll, and they're able to play with the books, use their imagination. But then there's this spinning wheel or sewing machine. Man, you better be on your toes when one of those pops into your world, and it rips up the rag doll. It reminds me of the Fates. The Fates don't play around. Even the gods are afraid of the Fates. Then they go to the father's house to break the news. And there's, again, the contrast, like the real world. The real world is just cruel, and they're not going to help you. So he's sort of a master in this imaginary world, but in these three incidences where he 3 or 4 brushes with the real world, it just doesn't mesh up. It's like Charles is trying to mesh it up, but it's a very difficult thing to do because he's a master in the wrong world. Because if he was in the imaginary world, he wouldn't have any problem, but he's stuck in the physical world. That's my little take.
Yeah, it is. That's very, very good. Thank you, Roy. What do you think, Gary? Here's a corkscrew bridge. I don't know. That's probably not exactly what I was
honestly, thinking. That really is a good depiction in a way. Just imagine, instead of over trees and grass, it's just over like a map that you can see in like a grade school. That's pretty much it. It's up way, way taller too.
Many more
like 10,000 feet tall.
Yeah. Woo. That's an important detail. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I'm going to interpret it a little bit differently. To me, that he sees the bridge symbolically is actually a good thing, and that's the reason he can cross it and the others can't, because he's doing this as the witness. And and then the library, this is kind of the unfortunate condition of the puer, is that you know, they're caught in the mental realm, you know, and so, you know, we have the two aspects. We have the part that just circles and circles and circles and does continually the same thing. That's the old women. And then we have the, you know, the dialect, you know, where there's this book, but and this is the discovery aspect where, you know, they can only, you know, it's like it's very difficult to perceive, even though you're, you know, you're coming from, you know, from the symbolic, which is good. So, but this is not something that you're ever going to get in one reading. And so, you know, with the helper, you're able to dialogue back and forth. So even though you can't necessarily agree on what it says, you know, that going back and forth and having the different takes is, you know, hugely beneficial. You know, that's the start. And then, you know, we have the disaster and, you know, where, you know, something comes into the environment and the helper is destroyed. And I almost, you know, to me, you know, it's like, wow, does this correspond to an event, to something going on? Does this, like, you know, map out to a wound, you know, because I mean, this is like, you know, and then the whole negative father complex. So it's, you know, this is one of these dreams. I don't know how far we'll really get, because, you know, we don't quite have the context of, you know, like what's going on, or, you know, what are your current emotions and feelings, because somehow, you know, I think that destruction of the rag doll there is just hugely significant, you know, and you know, incredibly tragic, really.
Now, those two images at the end are pretty powerful. What do you think, Azine?
I think what comes to my mind is, as I wrote here, true north, authenticity, inner compass, like you're going to a direction that is coming from within and it's truthful and authentic. And despite the fact that there's people coming from north to south, and it seems that he's going through an individuation process and being differentiated with others and different from templates and stuff. But despite that, I have a feeling that this dream is encouraging him to use the collective wisdom and the people that went through this road, this pathway before us, and they left us maps and books. So it's connected to some kind of collective wisdom. And it's an integration with individuation, but being able to use others' wisdom. And I think he's in this phase, he's ready to do that, because there are sometimes that individuation takes us to isolation or being opposed to everything around us. But I think at this stage, maybe he's ready to be himself and somehow connect to collective as well.
It is, what is the purpose of the dream? What is the dream trying to tell us? What do you think, Kat?
And I'm sorry, and the bridge, as Gary said, it's also queer, but it's going, it's connecting and it's going out of the circle. So it's
and the road is empty. So it's just for him. He's the only one that goes. Everyone else is turning back like there's a traffic jam. So the collective is coming south. He's going north. He's the only one that goes. So he's going to continue on the road. what do you think, Kat? What do you think of the purpose and the meaning of the dream? Why would the dream maker give us a dream like this?
Well, because when he said about going north, I immediately thought of the North Star. We all have a North Star in which to follow upon and wish upon. And the thing with the library is knowledge and reference maps and ordnance survey type of thing. But I thought of the women like Roy, the three fates, the keepers and holders of wisdom and knowledge. And the fact that interests me is that the little boy, the maid of rags. Now I thought of things like Pinocchio, the gingerbread man, these representations of actual human sort of children. If you said, well, they're meant to, you know, the representations of the proper thing. And I'm thinking about rags as softness and cloth, and rags, you know, the doll made out of scraps of clothing, scraps of the persona that is being given life and some form of intelligence. I mean, we like them, we read with them, but it's very limited. The fact also, the sewing wheel, well, when you think of sewing and human evolution and why we've survived so long is the technology of sewing, the survival of the species as such. So for this thing to be destroyed on something like that, which is this way of surviving as the rag doll is needing to be destroyed in order for something else to be accomplished, and a more authentic self. And the fact of going to the father to tell that the rag boy had died and he has no interest. Again, the father figure seems to be in a state of disillusionment, escapism, and lost dreams. And that's what I got.
The death of, we read about this, Dawn mentioned in there too, the death of the infantile aspect. You know, if it's the death of the infantile aspect in, you know, there's no such thing as death in dreams or the unconscious. Every death implies a rebirth of something. You know, I want to just show you, this was my death dream, is that floating aspect of me. I found it was dead and like a balloon, but it was dead. Now in this case, he's saying that the rag doll, that this infantile aspect of him is destroyed, and its father is a drunk. Okay, so the father of the infantile aspect within us is a drunk. You know, and so what is that's a hopeful sign, don't you think? What? Let's hear a quick word from everybody, and we'll finish it next time. Roy, does that resonate at all?
I don't know. I'm really fascinated with artificial intelligence and robots. Pinocchio is one of the great stories of that. What makes a robot human? It's like what Pinocchio did, what he did to save his father, brought him alive, made him into a real child. You know, that's the difference between a human and a machine. So I'm sort of in disagreement. I think Charles really is onto something here with these dolls. He's a millennium. He's going to be dealing with robots and artificial intelligence. And can they become human? And I'm putting it right there. That's one of the big things on the list of the millennials, is to figure this out, because they're going to be pushed into this world they can't get out of it.
Let's hear from Gary Azine, and then Charles, maybe you can finish up. Dawn, that was very helpful. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I really like what Don said. And then I think the other thing that's interesting about it is that, so this happens, then he goes to the father to try to repair, to relate, to help the damage that's been done. And nothing's available there. But, I think maybe the important part was the attempt.
How about you? Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's
Finish that, Gary. Say it again. Can you say that one more time?
Well, yeah, I think Don was right on. And I think the important part was that, after this, he goes to repair, the relationship with the father, to inform the father, of the difficulty of what has happened. And, because of what the father is, it's not possible. But his attempt to relate, I think was a really important part of the dream.
Great. Let's hear Azine and Kat, and then Charles, maybe you can just put a cap on it. Go ahead, Azine. Oh, you're done. How about you, Kat? Did you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think Roy's thing about artificial intelligence is quite interesting, but it's an actually scary thought as well. It's artificial, and why not have the real thing? That's the thing. And I think it's a wonderful dream, and I think it's a very transformative one at that as well. So thank you, Charles, for sharing.
It is good. We'll have, so I think, like Azine said, and I do too, I think about these, and they percolate in me. Charles, did you want to just kind of give us a few thoughts? Because sometimes we are completely off the mark after we hear you.
Yeah, I think, not, I don't think, but what Dawn said about she pointed out that the ragdoll boy was the son of the negative father complex, and that is just what really opened things up for me and made me realize the dream. And and somebody said something that at some point that made me be like very defensive and like clinging on to the ragdoll boy. Like, no, I'm not ever going to get rid of him. I would rather give up everything and just be friends with the ragdoll boy, even if that means like sacrificing, like having, a sort of like normal outer life. And the ragdoll boy is like the son that is brought about because of the like negative parent, and it's basically a response like, oh well, life is going to be like this, especially childhood life, it's going to be like this. Well, then I'm just going to be a ragdoll boy.
That we're going to have to talk about that Wednesday. What does it mean to be born a ragdoll boy? Yeah, we'll take this up in Wednesday. Okay. All right. Well, great session. It went by too fast. Thanks, Roy, Gary, Azine, Kat, Charles, and Dawn. You hit it out of the park.
Bye.
Okay. See you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.